Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Nicholas Clement. Mr. Nicholas, how are you doing, sir?
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, I'm so glad to have you on my show. Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. Firstly, you are a mental health advocate. You are also an entrepreneur and an educator. Can you please, Mr. Nicholas, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Nicholas?
Yeah, no problem. So, I was a primary school teacher previously, so that's for children aged 3 to 11, for over a decade. Um, got to the point where I completely disagreed with the education system. It looked like it was going in the right direction, but sadly, it's still not where it needs to be. So, I just decided to leave one day, didn't really have a plan, created this company called Confident Healthy Individuals. So the idea was that we were going to have specialists in different areas. We might have a scientist, we might have an artist. We'd go into schools and deliver these projects that would have these experts to help the children. And that could be over 6 weeks, over 3 weeks. But when I first went into schools, I saw that there was a major issue with children's confidence and health. So their gross motor skills were poor, fine motor skills, confidence levels, their anxiety levels were high. So that's when the name Confident Healthy Individuals came about because we aimed then to create cross-curricular well-being projects. So all of them are quite fun, like The Greatest Showman, Lion King, very child-friendly, that have a aspect to them that will help the child improve their confidence or health. So that would get them to perform or do some kind of exercise in any way. And that was really successful. I've been doing that now for the last 3 years. We won a couple of awards in different sectors, which is amazing. And during that time, I thought there must be something that we can do that will help children calm down after break times, or you'd call them recess times. And the same thing for parents before bed, because I know with technology and the amount of energy children have, um, we need something that'll help calm them and cool them down. So yeah, we come up with the different books, the different series called the Mindfulness Adventures, which we'll speak about later, that all have mindfulness techniques in them that hopefully help children become more calm.
I'm so glad that you guys have written a book because I want to dive into that place. That mindfulness camp. Can you please, Mr. Nicholas, discuss more on that book? And are you also planning to release more book in the coming future, Mr. Nicholas?
Yeah, so we have two books currently at the minute, which is they all start with Let's. So Let's Look Through the Window and Let's Meet Di the Dragon. Di is our mascot here in Wales. Di is like a very popular name. You can call people Di Slippers for somebody who wears slippers a lot. It's a funny nickname we'd use. Yeah, but the first one is based on the hugely best-selling book called Press Here. So Press Here is really simple. It's got dots and circles and you move the book and you press the book and you do different things. So we kind of pinch that idea and decide, well, how can we add mindfulness into that? So there's lots of different things you do on the book where you can move and you've got to swipe the curtains, you've got to blow blow the leaves off the trees. So we've carefully woven in mindfulness techniques into them. And as we've progressed, the books have evolved. So the next book coming out is called Let's Explore the Ocean. That's got a little bit to do with the pollution in the sea and again using mindfulness techniques. And then the last book in the series is called Let's Meet the Monsters Under the Bed. And that includes four monsters who all have a special power that will help you sleep. So it's gratitude, positive affirmations, tension, and breathing techniques. So you can see we've started very, very small, and all of a sudden it's evolved. And sometimes we have to rein it back in because we try to do too much too quickly.
Completely agree. That third one is going to be really, really massive. We're expecting that, Mr. Nicholas. And we all know that mindfulness is very important in our life today. Due to the rise of social media and everything like that, we have to be mindful of what we have to do, whether it's right or wrong. So, when it comes to children point, I would like to ask Mr. Nicholas, what do you think mindfulness is, and why do you personally think is important in children education, Mr. Nicholas?
That's a really tough question in a way because I believe mindfulness is different to each person. And there's so many different layers and different aspects of mindfulness that will suit some people and might not suit others. So we've got things as body scans, breathing techniques, tension, um, exercises you can do. But if we look at the science and the science suggests that it does work, scientifically it is proven to work. It's not this woo-woo stuff that people are just doing, it actually does work. It's very simple concept, especially with the breathing techniques. You're simply getting more oxygen to the brain, which is helping you to manage your emotions, reduce anxiety, and improve your concentration. So it's really important for children to be aware of something that I've just introduced recently is where you feel anger, where you feel frustration, where you feel anxiety. So does it that come from your head? Does it come from your hands? Can you feel it building up like a volcanic eruption? So for me, if I feel angry, for example, so if I start to feel angry, I can feel that my head starts going really, really red. So if I can control those emotions with breathing techniques and think to myself, okay, I can feel myself getting angry now. I can feel that it's coming from my head. I possibly need to remove myself from the situation, distract myself, do breathing techniques or a range of different things because I'm understanding my behaviors.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. And I also know that mindfulness will have been, introduced to some children, so have been practiced in some within some children's today. But to some people that have not introduced it, how do you think, like, how early should you think mindfulness practice should be introduced to children, Mr. Nicholas?
I think the earlier the better. And as I
Okay.
said, just remember that one thing doesn't fit all. So it might be experimenting with a range of different techniques that might fit that child. So the more exposure they get to, the better. The best thing I can say to do, I know it's quite hard to listen, but if you put your hand out in front of you, like you're going to give somebody a high five, and you start from the base of your thumb. So if you, with your finger, your other hand, if
Mhm.
you breathe in as you go up your finger, like you're tracing your hand, and then
Yes.
breathe out as you come down. That's quite a nice one for children because they are double focus on being present in that moment. They've got to concentrate moving their hand and their finger, and they've got to concentrate on their breathing techniques as well. Another one I do, which is simple without the hand, is called dragon breaths, which fits in with Die the Dragon. That's 3 seconds in through your nose and 3 seconds out through your mouth. So it's a deep breath. And it's quite fun for children to do that because they're doing a mindfulness technique without realizing they are.
Children will really, really, really love those type of things. They will really enjoy it. It's something that is more fun, It's more relatable. It's more of mindfulness. And I also like to dive to the point of parents. Parents have to also bring this support when it comes to mindfulness. They have to also, introduce this thing to their children in one way or the other. How do you think parents can also support mindfulness practice at home, Mr. Nicholas?
The first suggestion I would say is before bed, because that seems to be the best time or the most valuable time of when we need children to have to calm down and for their brains to be quite relaxed. So I'd start with the mindfulness breathing techniques, really simple ones like I suggested there. You've got the dragon breath, bunny sniffs. So you take three short, sharp breaths in through your nose, like and then one out. So there's lots of different things you can do there, and your child can make their own kind of breathing animal or technique that they want to. So I'd start there, keep it really simple to begin with. Another thing you can do is if you're on walks, nature walks, it's trying to draw their attention to the different things that they see, so that they be more present and in the moment. With all the technology and things like that we have, I suppose it's getting harder and harder now for children to be more present. So the more you practice it, the better they'll become.
That's very lovely. Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. And there will also be big challenges, when it comes to this mindfulness. There will also be big challenges in introducing this thing into the education system. I know it has been really evolving as it has been helping the children in the positive way. But what do you personally see are the biggest challenges in bringing this mindfulness into education system, Mr. Nicholas?
Um, One of the biggest challenges is time. We constantly are throwing new things at teachers all the time and expecting them just to be able to incorporate it into their daily lives, into the school life. So that's quite tricky. But I think to counteract that, we just need to say, okay, if you can practice doing it for 1 minute a day, or 2 minutes a day, or possibly send out resources to parents so that they understand a little bit more, they can practice it at home with their child and then the child can become more aware of being mindful, being more present. I think the issue as well is the woo-ness. Some people, I think it's changing. I think it is getting better, But some people still believe like, oh yeah, this mindfulness. Maybe they've tried the breathing technique and they think, oh no, this doesn't work for me. So it's for people and school and teachers to understand that there's lots of different elements to mindfulness, and it's worth trying a range of them because one child might act very differently to another. Say, for example, if you do an attention exercise over a breathing technique.
I completely agree. And I also remember when you said time, it depends on the timing. And also patience, it also requires things like that. Nothing just happen quickly. It has to be constant practice for someone to just be very, very perfect with it. So I completely agree with you with that, Mr. Nicholas. And I would like to also dive to the point of people that are disabled and people that probably have this ADHD. Do you think mindfulness practices can also help children that have this ADHD or disabilities, Mr. Nicholas?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a cure, but research shows that mindfulness can improve impulse control, self-awareness, emotional regulation. So those are like critical areas for children who have ADHD and other learning difficulties. Again, start really slow and find the one that that child likes, and hopefully the child can practice it over a long period of time and add it to a range of different strategy tools to help them manage the diagnosis that they have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. And I also like to dive to the point of fun. Children love fun. I remember when you were like demonstrating something in your hand, children love something like that. They love something that will make them like just something that will make the energy just come up. So I would like to also dive to the point of the teachers, and also the school. How do you think, teachers and school can also make this mindfulness practice engaging and fun for kids, Mr. Nicholas?
So there's lots of different videos out there. There's loads on YouTube. Although it's not ideal, but it's good that you'll have the animation and the videos there that they can use. So there's things called bubble bounce where you have to keep your eyes on the different bubbles that are going on the page. There's melting, which is one of my favorite ones that I do with the children. So they squeeze up really, really tight. I call it ice cube. I've made it my own somehow. They squeeze up really, really tight in the ball, and then they slowly, slowly release the tension from their bodies and kind of feel like they're melting. So there's loads out there, tons. And like I said earlier, children could possibly then create their own breathing technique. So it could be crocodile, sparrow, dog, anything.
Yes, they can also create their own so that they can also make it more fun for themselves. Thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah.
Nicholas. And I also like to lastly, I would like to just dive to this point of something you feel like you've been in the education system like a long time now. So you definitely know something that you feel like could change to promote this mindfulness in the education system today. If you could change probably one thing that's about this current situation of the education system, how it has been set up to promote mindfulness in the education system, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Nicholas?
I think what I touched on earlier is if every school had a time called mindfulness minutes, where it was allocated to just spend that short amount of time to practice different mindfulness techniques. So not the same one, not just breathing techniques, because children will become bored. And as I said, it might only be that 20% of the children respond really well to the breathing techniques. So a whole range of different mindfulness techniques that they can use. And I would suggest either before home time, first thing in the morning when they come in, or just after break times or lunch times.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas. And lastly, Mr. Nicholas, there's a question I normally ask Mr. Nicholas. From the forefathers, from the fathers who have passed on from the historic time, there are a lot of things that do exist during our forefather time that is missing in our time today, Mr. Nicholas. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Nicholas, what do you think that thing will be, sir?
That's a difficult question, isn't it? And I know there's a lot of stuff that I'd remove, but I think letting children be children more, if that makes sense. So letting them be more active, letting them play more. Here in the UK, it's uh, the poor education system we have is that we allow children to play when they're young, and that seems to be very well. And then as soon as they go to juniors, so as soon as they turn 6 or 7, it's like, okay, you've got to be sat down, you've got to work in a certain way. And I think we as a society have changed and evolved, and we need to be moving. And um, Yeah, there's a lot of elements which I currently disagree with. I think actually we would be better if we looked back rather than if we looked forward.
Yes, there are a lot of things that do exist during that time. Very fun thing. That time there was no technology, there's nothing like this. So everything was more of natural, everything was more of physical, and everything was more of calm in that time, different from the time that we have technology that we could just go on the phone and see what is going on globally. I also want to use this time and the opportunity to thank you for speaking on mindfulness in the education system. It's a very nice thing and it's very, very fun for the children that we are trying to bring today, which are the future of tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mr. Nicholas.
Ah, thank you very much.
All right, so have a wonderful day, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.